Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews at JTMatthews01 on the Twitter, and I'm here with the Doctor, Nicholas Manning at Dr_Manning on Twitter as well. Doc, happy Wednesday. Back at it again. How are you feeling? How you doing? How's it's a little warmer than it was earlier now.
Yeah, I mean, it's all relative. It's cold. It's only the sun's out, but I think today's the coldest it's supposed to be this week, right? I think it's supposed to tick up.
I think so.
I didn't even know. I stopped looking. I was that cold. But I definitely got the buddy driving by as I'm shoveling this morning in my shorts and hoodie. And he's like, that's not the most Colorado thing. I don't know what it is. And I was like, yeah, I'm a Colorado dad. I shovel and shit. I'm good. Hey, man, you know what? The world seems way brighter when the Chiefs aren't Super Bowl champions.
Isn't that true? I didn't even think about talking about that today. Let's just start with that. Because how great, like, I know it wasn't a great game, but I enjoyed every second of that game. And I think it probably a lot of Broncos fans did.
Yeah. It was a great game. Period. There was a point though when I caught myself feeling bad for the Chiefs, like when they kept panning to their players and you could tell that they just like
Chris Jones crying.
Yeah, well, I don't feel bad for Chris Jones, but like some of the younger guys, like, oh man, you guys haven't had like real big disappointment ever. And even this, right? You finished second. The
only guy I might feel a little bit bad for is Hopkins, just because he's really
not going to make it back again.
Yeah, he's really trying to get that last hurrah, and it just ain't happening right now.
Yeah, it's like when Wes Welker came to the Broncos, right? And it's like, oh,
you
can't. Whatever you do, you can't time it out, right? That said, D Hop has made a ton of money.
Yeah, right.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
He'll be fine.
Good news is they don't. You don't judge receivers based on Super Bowl rings. Or Rod Smith would have been in the Hall of Fame. And rightfully so, should be. But would have been a while ago. So it stopped. It ended. I felt bad for them more just because it was I just wanted it to be a little competitive. It was a bloodbath. And kudos to the Eagles. They didn't let up. All the turmoil all season, last off season, end of last season.
Yeah, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts having beef this season.
Having beef. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, they don't even talk. Really, it was, what could go wrong is going wrong. Or at least that's what they tell you. And then you get to the playoffs, right? They got the right mix of guys and coaches playing well at the right time.
Yep.
They did what they do. And that was, hopefully for I'm not really a Philly fan. So I don't really want this to kickstart a dynasty or anything. So I'm not
sure.
I don't want the Eagles to go on a streak of long success just because I think Eagles fans, we all know Eagles fans are potentially the worst fans.
For sure.
Outside the Chiefs fans. But you know what? They are thick-skinned-ish, I appreciate it. And Jalen Hurts deserved that. That dragged through every ounce of mud. And then kudos to Saquon Barkley, who single-handedly made running backs matter again.
Oh, 100%. That was the only thing missing for me in the Super Bowl was a Saquon Barkley
moment,
50-yard ripped run, something like that. But
he essentially he let the pass game was able to cook because they were just you're not beating us. And to the Eagles, they did. He ran hard every time he got the ball, and wasn't pouting. He's all about getting that ring. It was interesting and pretty cool to see that he passed TD for most yards in a playoff or in a season. That said, I do want to make sure that we're clear. I think Terrell Davis in the regular season only played in 12 games if you take out all the quarters he sat out or something like that. And then they only played 2 playoff games plus the Super Bowl because they were the 1 seed. Right. This year, the 2 seed. You still got a home game. So he had an extra game. He didn't play in the 17th game. So kudos that it's 16 and 16. All that being said, like Saquon is fun. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I got
Absolutely.
addicted to Saquon highlights. So I was rooting for that guy, and good for them for righting a wrong. No doubt, they will remember the day they played the Eagles. And shout out to Vic Fangio. Vic got dragged quite a bit, and some of it he deserved, most of it he didn't. And him being able to go out on top, like they didn't blitz Patrick Mahomes once.
No, yeah, that 4-man front was insane.
That was 2015 AFC Championship. Tom Brady getting blasted over and over again, like that bad. Because I mean, Tom was smacked around, I think, more than Cam was in the Super Bowl. It was just, Tom kept getting back up. Kudos Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes got up, but you can tell they just didn't have it, man. And they didn't have the dogs in the skill room. So we didn't talk about this but does it make you feel a little bit better about where the Chiefs are at compared to the Broncos and the Broncos' opportunity to compete for the AFC West championship next year?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of. I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I'm
asking you.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I think there was a prevailing feeling that the Chiefs team was a bit overrated, and that they had a lot of help with some favorable calls this season, and some. Like I think what you can say about the Chiefs is they're a very disciplined team, and they know when they go out there, they know the plays that they're running. They do it really in a precise and hard to defend way.
Yes.
But I think as far as personnel goes, we knew that it was a bit shaky. We knew that offensive line could struggle, especially against a good defensive front. We saw that against the Broncos, right? So I think it was validating for a lot of Broncos fans in that way, that it's just like, yeah, I mean, there's the mystique and the legend around Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes is kind of a 3-man unit over there. But they're not infallible, and they're a team that, is kind of regressing to the pack a little bit. And it kind of opens a bit of a window for a young, talented team if we can develop it the right way.
Yeah, the coaching staff, we talked about it right after the season. If we get past Buffalo, we feel really good about the next game. Sean Payton said, that's what George Payton echoed. That's what Mr. Penner, like they knew in the building whether or not it was going to come to fruition. In their heart of hearts, they knew that they were going to beat the Chiefs. I think watching that Super Bowl makes you feel better about it. I do think let's pump the brakes in the sense of, we had the most sacks in the NFL, and so you saw what Philly was able to do. Like, we should be able to do the same. Let's just pause real quick for all of us.
Right.
Outside of Josh Sweat, who former Florida State Seminole, came out of college injured. That's the only reason why he went in the 4th round. As you can see, that guy is phenomenal. But Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis, all 1st-round picks. So it's a la the San Francisco 49ers, right? The Rams from yesteryear with Michael Brockers, Chris Long, Aaron Donald, right? Like, that's where you put your resources. So Howie Roseman has always been a upfront guy, which I feel like an honorary lineman, because I always am like, just keep getting big dudes. If your offensive line is good and your defensive line is good, for the most part, you're probably going to have a good team. Shocker. And so Nick Bonito is a guy that can cause pressure, still working on being an anchor in the run game. Jonathan Cooper, strong anchor in the run game, is a good pass rusher. I don't say to any of the level of those guys. And Zach Allen, I think I would put in the conversation with either of the Georgia's boys for the Eagles, but is JFM. He's not a Jordan Davis. Like, those guys are 340. And I think Jordan Davis, right, runs a under 5, like a sub 540. I don't even run that, and I was a former just saying. So the blueprint's there. It always had, you got to get pressure with the minimum amount of guys. That's how you beat every quarterback, is you get to them while covering with the most. Some teams can't only get there with 4. But you saw that their offensive line is like the Chiefs have more issues than they're going to be able to fix in one offseason.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And they still were able to go 15-2 and go to the Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
I'm not predicting their demise, but politely pumping the brakes for all of us who are like the Broncos don't need to do anything because they're there. Not so fast, my friends. Not that we won't be.
Work to do and development to happen. I mean, that's something you want the Chiefs to work on too. You know, you got guys like George Karlaftis, who was a first round draft pick that looked to struggle a bit. You know, there's definitely hits and misses with their draft selections, and when you're picking in the 30s all the time, you know, it makes the job a little bit harder. So, you know,
even the Chiefs, their defense, they played way better than the score would have indicated.
Yeah.
I think if their offense was able to muster anything, they were going to be a handful. But just you saw what happens when you went up front, and the Eagles did that. You can make anyone look ordinary, and that's how Patrick Mahomes has lost the first two Super Bowls, or his losses. Right, Tampa Bay. I mean, similar, ton of pressure, and same with this game. And the games where you don't get to Patrick, dude's he's a human joystick. He's gonna get his. So again, thank you, Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Way to back up the name. Nice job. Kellen Moore, I apologize. I thought you couldn't offensive coordinate your way out of a paper bag, and not only did, now you're a head coach.
Yeah.
So that goes. And Vic, to those who said you were washed up, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
Shame on you.
Yeah, agreed. Let's switch gears. We're going to talk some more Broncos at the end. We got some draft coverage that we're going to get to. But let's jump to the Denver Nuggets. In the midst of a 7-game winning streak, have moved up to third rankings in the Western Conference, are putting together some dominant wins. I mean, we're not against top-tier opponents necessarily. Your Portland's. I think we played Orlando a few games back. I
remember when we played Orlando in Orlando, right? That was we're going to see what they got, because there's an up and coming team with a ton of, and then all of a sudden it's a month later and Orlando's trash. Like, calm down. Like they're still a talented team. They might not have it together. And Portland, for all of the not great, they're 7-3 in their last 10. And so just a little bit of, and they've lost 2 in a row. So they were, I think, 9-1 before dropping the last 2. So for all that being said, even though this is a team with a poor record, they're playing really good basketball at the moment. And so you got to be who's on their schedule, man.
I mean, their last, let's see, when was their last loss? Their last loss was January 27th. January 29th, sorry. And then 7 wins since then. So it's been a minute since they took a loss. 144 to 119 against the Pelicans.
Yep.
112 to 90 against Orlando. 122 to 105. 146 to 117. Like, these are big wins where Jokic is sitting the majority of the fourth quarter, if not all of the fourth quarter in these games. And he's still putting up absurd numbers. How are you feeling about this team? I think the biggest question I want to ask is, with the injuries that this team has suffered right now, Russ is out with a hamstring, I believe. Michael Porter Jr. has been out the last couple of games with a hamstring as well. Aaron Gordon's still working on that calf strain recovery. They're just kind of taking it easy with that. Jamal I think he's probable tonight with knee inflammation, but he missed a game a few games back with knee inflammation. Do you think that this, when everyone's healthy, let's just say we get to a point where all of your starter or starting caliber players are healthy, does it make sense to insert Russell Westbrook back into the starting unit at this point? Where Christian Brown's been playing great. I think last game he had 26 points. He's just been he's taken his game up another level, especially with the transition game. His ability to get to the rim, his finishing has been pretty elite. I think he has the most dunks of any small shooting guard in the league. And I think he's like 10 to 20 more than Zach LaVine, who's a great dunker. Does it make sense
Yeah.
to pull him back out of the starting unit and put him back on the bench for Russell Westbrook?
No. And I really wasn't a fan of it. I know why they did it, right? So the two-man game at that point in time between Jokic and Westbrook was the best statistically in the NBA. I think it was also Jamal wasn't playing well yet, and so if you put a guy like Westbrook on the bench, how's it going to help you if he comes in and you're down 10? I don't. So I think Christian isn't the same kind of player off the bench because he's not like an offensive spark plug. He is a wonderful complementary player. So to have him come off the bench, you usually need guys like that to come in and provide a punch. And not that he hasn't shown the ability to score, but he's not a selfish guy. And I mean that like even in a positive, you got to shoot first, right? We need Russ to be a playmaker when he comes off the bench. He has that skill set. He's going to be ball dominant. That's just not who Christian Braun is, or at least hasn't been. And I think he's playing so good right now on both ends of the floor. I would want to maximize that time. I think, for all of the injuries that suck, for sure, they kind of came at the right time, right? So you're going to get an extended break with the All-Star break coming up here after a few games. I think it's like 2.5 weeks, I want to say. Is that right? So you're getting that. So, West, there should be no MPJ tonight for sure. No Westbrook for sure. Let those guys have they've already had a week about for Porter, and then 3 weeks, I think, already for Russ. Yep. Take a month off, come back. It gives guys like Strother an opportunity to get 30 minutes. I've been super impressed by him. And I think, if this time has been there for those guys to be able to show what they can do. And the plus minuses, I think, have been a really good indicator of like what you can get, how deep now you can be in like true substitution, right? And so what's our best matchup? How's the flow of the game? Because you can feel better about Julian playing. He's shown, I think a bit more data, getting 30 minutes a game for the last several games. Like you can really see how he handles a workload in a game, right? Is he still scoring at the same clip late in the third quarter that he was in the first quarter? Blah, 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 all that stuff. Like you wouldn't have got that if these guys are all good. 2, if you're starting Russ, like Russ is a known commodity.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you need Christian Braun. You need Julian Strother. You need Peyton Watson. You need Zeke Naji, because we put ourselves in a freaking corner, to play fit well enough to provide something for this team. And so I think with that, the team is better and more and deeper if Russ comes off the bench, so you can maximize the amount of time that Christian Braun is on the floor, while also, Russ is going to get his minutes. So it's not like he's not going to play. It's not like he might not be on the floor to close. But I think Christian Braun is the guy that you've invested in. Like he's a part of the future. Russ is 36. He's probably not a part of the long game for the Nuggets. He might be here for another couple seasons. I hope so. But Christian is going to be a part of hopefully the next rendition too of, the last few years of Jokic's career, right? 33, 34, 35. Christian Braun will be 28, right? Or whatever that might be. And he's going to be a big player in that. So I'm actually super excited right now about where the Nuggets are at. It's just so interesting, right? It's like a month ago, felt really good about the Avs, playing great, got 2 new goalies. Let's go. Nuggets, like, geez, like, do you guys want to play basketball? Do you guys want to play basketball? Flip it. And it's like, and I'm not down on the Avs at all right now, like what's going on over there. We'll talk about that in a second. But you see, like, it clicked. And the guys got comfortable in their roles. I think Murray got confident and comfortable with Russ being a part of the team and whatever, right? Like he probably had something going on, girl drama or family matters, or he's Canadian, so watching Drake get dominated for the last little bit was probably super hurtful, all that good stuff. So he's, now he's in the game, it's comfortable, he's not thinking about not like us. So I like it. I wouldn't move him back. Yeah, I would go in with the starting group that they had to begin the season. But I really would get Christian involved more in the offensive game early, just so that he's a part of the flow. You saw what happens when he's not trigger shy. I mean, when was the last game he shot under 50% from the floor and under like 40 from three? Like he's just, his efficiency is great. And you need that when you have inefficient players like Russ and like Jamal. And so, I'd even double back on that, right? Have you seen a better stretch of basketball outside of Nikola Jokic than what Michael Porter Jr. showed for the 3 or 4 game stretch where he was just absolutely dominant? I'm super pumped to be a Nuggets fan right now because of that. Because you saw the MPJ, like, this is why we didn't want him traded.
Right.
That's why I'm traded. Right.
Yep.
Julian Strawther, like, this is what you were drafted for. Maybe it reduces my heat and frustration with Calvin Booth a little bit. Like, okay, you know what, Michael, maybe you should play these guys a little bit. Julian's dropping 25, Christian Brown's dropping 26, MPJ's dropping 36. Maybe, just maybe, let them play through their inept experiences and not sub them out for Dario Saric or
yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, over these last 7 games, but just kind of seeing, I think that there is hope that some of these guys in the development plan that Calvin Booth laid out for these young guys is, bearing a little bit of fruit. You mentioned field goal percentage for Christian Brown. Christian 10th in the league in field goal percentage. 1 spot above number 11, Nikola Jokic. So obviously, he's getting a lot of dunks. He's not taking as many jump shots or shots not at the rim as Jokic. Yeah. But, it's a testament to his efficiency when he's out there, his ability to get to the rim and break loose from defenders, his athleticism. In the top 13, all of those players that have, let's see, what's the lowest one? 56.6 field goal percentage is the lowest at the top 13. 12 of those 13 players are centers.
Yeah, I was going to say, they got to be close to the basket. Like, yeah, it's unheard of for a guy who is 6'6" to, and mind you, like, he's not a shooter in like the Steph Curry out of his mind realm, right? Or Dame Lillard or any of that, where like that's his hallmark. He has made himself a quality shooter. Like, it's not like natural right now. I mean, he'll get there. Hopefully get there. Keep working hard. It'll flip. But yeah, I mean, like, that's not what you would associate with him as an efficient putting the ball in the basket. That said, at 6'6", he is being true to who he is and how he can play. Some of our frustration with MPJ a little bit, like, go to the bucket, you're 6'10". Go to the bucket, you're 6'10". Go to the bucket, you're 6'10".
Yeah.
When you do, then you score 36 points on like 14 shots. It's crazy. Christian Brown, same thing, right? So his willingness to attack the rim, and mind you, I don't say go to the basket. I say attack the rim, because he is going there with some violence.
Yeah.
And, and his efficiency in putting it in the basket, is that because he's focused on getting to the hoop and putting it in the basket, not just drawing contact, not just right. And so I love that one. I wasn't jumping through the roof at people, but that's how I played, especially when you aren't the same, you're not gifted at 6'9", 6'10", 7, like Christian, for NBA standards, is a smaller player. Hey, you know what? Like, I can't beat them in the way that other guys can. I got to go do what I do. And the reason why the Nuggets drafted him, it was that he brought that tenacity. He brought that cutting mentality. He brought the dog a little bit. When they won the championship, he was a key contributor because of that. I think last year, things were weird. And I think beginning of this year, I don't think he knew who he wanted. It felt like he knew the pressure of, he wanted to be a starter in the NBA. And I think that there's some clout to that. And even though all of us would want to think like, it doesn't matter as long as you get the same amount of minutes, it does matter. It does matter if you're the starting quarterback, just because they bring in you off the bench doesn't, like, that's not screaming, trust you a whole bunch, right? You're not playing against the best on the other team when you come in off the bench, usually, all that good stuff. So, Peyton, it'll be interesting to see how Watson comes back from the injury. I think it's like, is it sprained knee, right? Sprained MCL. A guy that relies on athleticism. So that one will be a little interesting, because I really think if Peyton Watson and Christian Brown are playing really, really good. It gives you so much defensive flexibility. And then if you had Strother's ability he's one of the few Nuggets who can create off the dribble and create for himself.
Yeah.
If he's even playing at a quality, level that I'm not even saying that the level he's playing now, even if it's same efficiency or effectiveness, just reduced minutes, something like that. I mean, what a difference, what a difference just a couple weeks make.
Yeah.
They're in the West, creeping up on number 2. They were, I think at like the 7 seed a while ago, where it's just like, shit, they might play they're going to play in the play-in game.
Right.
We would have tarred and feathered the entire front office. Josh, get out here. Calvin, like, nope, you're not only wasting Nikola Jokic, you built a team that sucks. Like, we just went on down for that. And kudos to, Calvin, at least right now, like, oh, there was a long game. And hopefully it maintains there. Hopefully Malone owes it to our fan base to like stop doing you blow one call or one rotation on defense as a 23-year-old and we're going to sit you for 3 games. Like, stop it. Right. You need them to play well. Let them fail. One basket isn't going to make a game. And especially when you're playing with the ultimate eraser in Nikola, right? Who's the best player in the world. It's like, lean on that a little bit. Like, yep, we're going to have some bumps. But if these guys get it and fine tune, especially towards the end of the season, who's going to want to play? Like, no one's going to want to play them.
No. Yeah, just to go over some quick stats. So over the last 7 games, Christian Brown averaging 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.5 steals.
To say what its minutes are per game over those? Let's
see. Minutes, 35.
So, yep, you play starter minutes. Like, Russ isn't going to give you that with the same amount of minutes. He'll give you a holy crap output game, right? But he's not going to give you that. Plus, Russ is an effort defender. He's not a good defender.
Right.
And Christian Brown takes the hardest assignment every game.
Yeah.
Just for what it's worth.
MPJ in his last 7, 24.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and field goal percentage at 58%. I mean, he's taking another shot.
And again, he's not a center, right? And so and he's the guy that will shoot threes. And I do think, Jamal has been back and played for the last few weeks without a hiccup, right? I believe so. I don't think so these guys aren't getting that production because a star is out. Right. I know that Aaron Gordon, it's been, but they've had their kind of complement of their championship core. And so they're doing it with Nikola still getting his buckets, right? Aaron Gordon's still playing, and Jamal is averaging over 20, I would assume, over the past couple months. So they're not taking away from the effectiveness of the guys that you need to play well. They are playing well alongside, and that to me is the because it's Kyle Kuzma who can average 20 points a game with the Wizards because they're terrible. And he's just going to, someone has to be good on a bad team, right? Like, someone's got to take the shots. That's why Milwaukee fans are like, gee, he's so bad in every other aspect, right? Like, you can put the ball in the bucket, but he's a net negative player. Like, you really don't want that. And those guys are showing that not only can they hold their own if someone's out, but they can also produce next to. And that part is, that's how this team won a couple of years ago, was that everyone fell in line and, everyone knew this might not be my night, but maybe tomorrow night is, or the next, and they're playing that way. And if they can keep that up, I don't know if I feel as confident with them winning the championship as I did 2 years ago going in the playoff run. But if they keep playing like this, I feel pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah.
At least a Westford's Conference final. I think they're better than Memphis. I think they're better than LA. I think they're better than Houston. Dallas. I think they're better than Houston. I think they're better than LA again. I really think it's OKC. To me, it's OKC and Houston. I think Minnesota has that trade to send Cat. For as much as I loved him, building the groundwork here, great job. And there's other factors I have no doubt in the building, but basketball move, that potentially ripped them out of their window. And so the Nuggets still have best basketball player in the world, the best 2-man game in the world. And then you have, 6th and 7th man who contributes. Hopefully when Peyton Watts comes back, you got a good 8-person rotation. What's your thoughts on Zeke? Because that guy is made us angry for a while. And not even just him, but they're lack of playing him, especially how much money he makes. What you thought about him and what he's shown the last several games?
It's funny. He in the preseason, I actually liked Zeke. Like I watched the preseason games, I was excited about basketball just being back. And I thought he looked good. He looked stronger. He was making shots, 3-point shots. He was effective, rebounding and contesting shots around the rim. And I kind of wondered what had happened with him, prior to that or since then. With if it was an issue with Malone, if he was just having too many lapses in defensive coverage or the scheme. Malone doesn't have a lot of patience for that. We know that over the years. He doesn't like to play his young guys unless they earn it and go above and beyond what a lot of guys would have to go through in the NBA. And so to see him kind of emerge and be effective and be a good defender and be able to spot up and hit a 3-pointer in the corner when you need him to, I think it's hopefully it's validating for him, but I think it's just a good reminder that, this group of coaches and this coaching staff and the staff that they have in place can develop those guys. That was kind of the plan for Calvin Booth was like, we got to get these young guys. We have to have a second wave for when, some of these guys start, contracts start expiring. We have to decide who to play guys like KCP. We have to have guys that can step in and fill in those gaps. I don't know that Zeke, is ready for that necessarily, but he started a game the other day with Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson both out, and you didn't really notice a huge downturn. Obviously, you don't get the same production and playmaking as when Gordon's out there. There's a slight decline, but really he fit in well with the offensive scheme. He played good defense. He was, he hustled the whole time. I think he deserves some praise, along with a lot of guys on coming off the bench. Our guy Pickett had a nice game last game. Has looked really solid.
He's on both ends of the floor. I mean, I think he's played some really solid defense, which weird, right? This team plays defense, they win.
Yeah,
just put the ball in the basket. It's not a issue of the offense, that's for sure.
Yeah. Just a quick last stat. Jokic over his last 7, 30.7 points, 10.3 rebounds, 11.3 assists, 2 steals, and shooting 64.8% from the floor. So
in the majority of those games, he is probably playing. It's probably like average of 30 minutes, 32 minutes because he's sitting out.
33.
Just for Zeke, mind you. So this year, he is only averaging. All right, we'll go to February. So February, 6 games played, 20 minutes, about 20 and a half minutes per game, 6.7 points, shooting 50% from 3, and then averaging almost 5 boards and a steal and 1.3 blocks per game.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get a guy who will give you 18 to 20 minutes with that kind of production, awesome. When he started, he played 30 minutes, his one and lone start this year. Played 30 minutes, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 56% from the floor, was 2 of 4 from 3, and then also boarded up, had 5 boards, and played solid defense. So,
I mean, defensive versatility is kind of why the Broncos.
That was what we were excited about.
His ability to
athleticism, shoot some threes, and the guy that could switch, so you could have him play instead of Nikola or with you. That's why they drafted Darren Holmes, because essentially, what we were buying with Darren Holmes is who we thought Zeke Nnaji was going to be.
Right.
Athletic guy who plays some pretty good defense, has a pretty solid fundamental jumper. I think what's cool about this, for as much as we feel like Zeke's been with the Nuggets forever, he's 24 years old. Like he just turned 24. So it's not too late on that ticking thing for the Nuggets to be able to turn this relationship around.
Right.
But I think you can't put the genie in the bottle. I think he's played well enough that you just got to ride out the season as him as a quality and continuous member of the rotation, then figure things out in the offseason. Right. But, if Malone, who I love Malone, I think Malone should coach Nuggets for life, all that good stuff. I don't know if I believe that, but I'm not bashing on him overall as a coach, but the stubbornness to teach lessons by pulling people out, how do you expect people to get better at playing the violin if you take the violin out of their hands? You know, like he's got to still play. So, yep, you bopped him on the nose. He peed on the carpet. No more kitty, bad kitty, all that stuff. Well, are you just going to keep spraying the kitty, you know, and not give them a chance to learn the lesson? So, Michael, Mr. Malone, Eminem, however you like to be called, sir, just keep playing Zeke, man. You know, I mean, think about this. The bench is Russ and kind of like in the youngins, right? So it's like Strother, Peyton Watson, and Zeke Nagy, which Zeke is the oldest out of those three, which is just kind of funny. Outside of Russ. So you get youth, you get defensive versatility coming out of there, and you get some guys who can do different stuff. Strother, who's a good shooter, can play and create. Westbrook is, you know, a slasher and can create. You got Peyton Watson, who's a 3-and-D, and then you got Zeke, who's, I think, you know, he's not great in any one area, but he doesn't suck in any area. Like we've talked about it before, we just need guys that can contribute solid professional minutes or someone that's really good at a thing. Zeke falls into these good, provides you good quality minutes. So I'm excited. Are you? One, do you think they'll catch Memphis? So I think game and a half back for the 2. And does it even matter?
Yeah, I think they can catch Memphis. It's always weird coming off All-Star break to see where teams kind of put their focus. When the Nuggets won the championship, they lost like 7 of their last 9 games or something. You blew a 7-point lead, a 7-game lead to whoever was second that year. You know, but you know, there was obviously they were getting some rest in, some guys were getting healthy. You know, assuming they come back healthy from the break, I expect to pick up where they left off. This offense is just clicking on all cylinders. You know, you scored 146 points against the Trailblazers 2 nights ago, and are still. I don't know if they're at the bottom of the league, but they're definitely bottom 5 3-point shooting team as far as volume. And so your effectiveness in paint and just finding easy shots and baskets is just at a peak level. And so if I don't see that changing as long as Nikola Jokic is healthy, you know, they should continue to roll, and Jokic is having another MVP season. We'll see how that all shakes out. He's my MVP regardless, but you know, I think that they are the biggest threat to Oklahoma City in the West for sure. I can acknowledge the fact that Oklahoma City, top to bottom, is probably a better team. But when you have the best player in a series, and the Nuggets would have that in any series that they go up against anyone in the West, probably in the East too, you know, you've got a shot. So I expect that they'll finish second. I expect that they will take an approach that, you know, if they don't end up being second, I don't know that. I don't think they're going to hunt for a mismatch or hunt for a matchup like they have in previous years. I think they're ready for I think they're ready for whoever gets thrown at them, and will be ready to play playoff basketball. You know, it's fun to go from kind of a young upstart team to a veteran team where, you know, if you just make it, you always got a shot. So that's where it feels like the Nuggets are right now.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. Now with that, we'll quickly transition for a little bit to their neighbors across the hall at Pepsi Center, Ball Arena. Dang it, Ball Arena in the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, Colorado Avalanche.
The Four Nations face off. It goes from it starts Wednesday, February 12th. So today, starts at 8. The regular round robin tournament wraps up on the 17th, and then there'll be a championship game on the 20th of February. So essentially kind of 2 weeks. Finland, Sweden, United States, Canada. One, what are your thoughts real quick on just the Four Nations and what we think we might get from that? And 2, how does that impact the Avs as we go for another push for a cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Avs have 4 guys representing them in the Four Nations tournament. You got McKinnon, you got McCarr, you got Devon Taves, and you got Arturi Lehkonen. I believe that's all of them.
And would have had a fifth one, but business.
Yeah, for sure. Rantanen's in there, but it happens. I'm interested to see kind of how it plays out. I don't know. Here's what I'll say. I'm optimistic that this will be better than the NHL All-Star Game format. I think it could be. It could have more of that Olympic pride feel, as far as having that national pride and wanting to come out on top. At the same time, I think it will still be a little bit of an All-Star Game feel. You are throwing a bunch of guys together that don't normally play together, and so there's not a lot of forming you can do in a short amount of time. It's not like when they play an Olympic for Olympic gold. They have like months of practice ahead of that, or at least a good amount of time to kind of come together and build those lineups. I saw someone say that Canada's best chance to win is to put McKinnon and Connor McDavid on the same line. I would love to see that. I just that's insane. And I hope that they do it at least for one of the games, because I'm just so fascinated by the speed of play that they could generate together. I don't know who you'd put on that line with them that could keep up, but it would be fun to see it happen.
4 defensemen, probably.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Cale McCarr out there for sure. You'd have to have them speeding along. And it sounds like McCarr and Taves are going to play on a line together. So that's cool.
I mean, this is what you want All-Star games to be, right? It's the best players in the world in a way that you don't see them either versus each other, right? First time, you got 2 Avs playing, when Sweden goes up against Canada. Yeah. Or, you get to see the ultra mega line, right? You got Sidney Crosby, you got McDavid, you got McKinnon, obviously, Matt Stone, who's a phenomenal player. Brandon Hagel, who is great. I think there's just some really cool stuff for the game out there, and that's kind of what you're hoping to see is the novelty of stars and not just a half-assed flag hockey game.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that I'm interested in the format. I think that it will be more exciting. Again, we'll see just how hard they go. I don't think that guys are going to be throwing bone-crushing checks up there or anything like that. But I think there will be a certain amount of pride that they take in this tournament. It could be a fun alternative, and maybe kind of setting the table for future adaptations of All-Star games in different sports too. Not that the NFL has a number of European players coming over or anything like that, but as the NBA has gotten more popular, you could have a Europe versus USA All-Star game, as opposed to just Serbia running Nikola Jokic with a bunch of dudes that don't play professional ball. You could put him and Giannis and Luka on a team and roll them out against.
How dope is that? That's just
that's insane.
Next level awesome.
However, I am kind of excited about the All-Star game, the way that it's broken up, only because Jokic's team has 5 centers, and it'll be funny to watch.
Just love game.
It's like Jokic and Kat and a bunch of Giannis was, but now he's out. So, but it was just a bunch of big centers and power forwards. I was like, all right, this will be interesting. But regardless, I think it's exciting. I think it'll be fun. I think also it gives the Avs a good time frame to get some guys healthy again. I think it'll be pretty low impact for the most part for those guys who are playing. And it'll just, I think it could revitalize the team a little bit, and they could come back on the other side of the break and be ready to go. They've fared pretty well this season, considering a lot of injuries and trades and inconsistency in goaltending and all this stuff that has been thrown at them. They're still in the playoff spot, though a wild card spot right now. When they come back from break, they'll have 25, 26 games to go. Plenty of time to kind of solidify your spot and head into the playoffs with some momentum. So I think that they're in a good position. They may not be the front runners like they have been in past years because of all the change, but we've got a legit goaltender that is stepping up when we need him to. We've got guys that, if we can find a little consistency, have a lot of upside. So I am excited for the Avs and what they can do moving forward.
Hey, Kona, appreciate you. Yes, we should have a MHRT All-Star competition. I'm for it.
I'm in.
Big Mike, I know if you're watching, yeah, like you guys know, Glenn, put it on. Let's we'll do it. We'll do full like draft gauntlet style, even a little skills comp.
Yeah, we can snake draft it up and
yeah.
Come up with some exciting,
yeah,
probably somewhat messy competitions. It's probably not going to be pretty to watch.
A bunch of middle-aged, worn-down dads competing in athletic stuff. Probably not ideal, but funny.
Well, beer drinking, I can handle.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can for sure.
Yeah, I'm an endurance beer drinker.
That's right. I'm not built for speed, but I'll sure as hell win the distance.
All right, let's talk Broncos and draft coverage. We've talked enough about those other teams. We love those other teams, but we know that the Broncos are, Denver's team. So we're gonna jump into some draft coverage. We decided we're gonna do like a little mini series. We're gonna do player rankings for position groups coming up in the draft. Today we chose running backs and cornerbacks. So which one do you want to start with, Doc?
Let's start with offense. We'll start with running backs. And why don't you go ahead and kick us off, my guy?
We'll start with running backs. So we'll compare ours to we found Bucky Brooks just dropped one of these like 8 hours ago or something. So we got his pulled up. We'll see how we compare at the end. You want me to do my 5 or you want to go one by one?
Yeah, you do your 5 and let's go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Ashton Genty, running back, Boise State is number 1. Good long speed, great acceleration, quickness. You can bounce those runs to the outside, which is super valuable, obviously. Good power, good pad level, hard to tackle one-on-one. I think he's just got a lot of tools that'll make him successful moving forward in this league. And I don't know that he's got the same juice as some of the other top-end first pick running backs of yesteryear. But I think
it's like kind of Bijan, Saquon, obviously.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I put Josh Jacobs in the same caliber. Like,
yeah, maybe not.
He's not the same. Like both of those other guys are to the house, right? They score from anywhere kind of guys. I don't know that I would call Josh Jacobs that. So I think he's like different, more power. But Ashton is kind of I think a couple steps back or a couple spots back from Barkley and for Bijan, I think as prospects, but similar in they can hurt you anywhere on the field.
Yeah. So that's my number 1. I think it's probably pretty much consensus number 1 for everyone. Yep. I've got Caleb Johnson at number 2. So the thing I like about Caleb Johnson is he's got great burst and long speed and top end speed. I think he may be Travion Henderson may be close from a speed standpoint as far as top end speed, but Johnson probably has the most ability to kind of take something to the house if he gets out in space. He's a little upright, so he's a little easier to tackle than some of the other guys. At times you can take him down with an arm tackle if you get him down low. He's good with his lateral movement. Again, navigates in traffic pretty well. Good at getting to the outside, like I mentioned with Genty. Patient. I do like he's a very patient runner. And follows his blocking really well. The only thing I would say about Caleb Johnson is I think if I were a team looking for offensive linemen who can run block, he had a lot of clear path runs where his offensive lineman just kind of cleared the way and he just had to run through a hole. Straight line speed's great. He's a guy that I think could have a good career. There's some things you'd want to clean up, I think, in his game, but for the most part, I think he has top end talent. Number 3, Travion Henderson.
Okay.
Again, great acceleration, top end speed. Probably the best pass catcher of the group, at least the top end of the group. Okay. In the playoff game against Oregon, I think he had like a 20 to 30 yard wheel route that he got some good yardage after the catch. You don't see a lot of those on these other guys' highlight reels. So, and they do find ways to get him involved in the running game. Runs smaller than is sometimes. I think he's like 5'11", 205, 210, something like that. So sometimes I feel like he doesn't run. I don't know. He doesn't finish his runs very well at times. But he's a great athlete. I think he has the potential to be a 3-down back, but I think I could also see him as where he's probably better in a rotation, just because of his physicality. And again, can bounce it out to the outside and get if he gets on the edge, it's going to be hard to take him down. I got Omarion Hampton at 4. He's an interesting one for me because I like his game a lot, and there are things that I like about his game that I like more than anyone else. I think he's probably the most patient runner. I think he's the best at finding a hole. I think he's the best at running to space. Like, he navigates the field really well and runs away from defenders really well, and I think that's part of what makes him so successful. I don't think he's as quick or fast as those other guys. He's smooth, but I don't know that he has the same kind of burst and acceleration as those top 3 guys. He does. He runs. He's a powerful runner. He has great balance. There are times he'll go airborne, someone will hit him in the chest, and he'll land and keep running it, keep moving his legs and still overpower those defensive players. So there's definitely a lot to like there. He's a little bit more of a question mark for me, though, as far as his top end skills and his ability to, to kind of reach his max potential in one area as an elite. But I think probably he's one of the most well-rounded backs.
I agree.
And then 5, I had Quinshon Judkins, another Ohio State running back. Great, runs with great leverage, strong, finishes his runs, always falls forward, good feet in traffic, patient. He doesn't have as much will as some of the other guys, as much ability to kind of get to the edge. But he's gonna make a guy feel him. If you come up to tackle him, you're gonna have to have good technique, or else he's gonna
buckle that chin strap.
It's quick. It's not like he's just a big, powerful running back. He's got some speed. His long speed isn't as good as some of those other guys. His top end speed isn't as good as some of those other guys, but it's still pretty good. I think that's probably. Oh, and he can catch the ball in the backfield at least. They didn't use him much down the field, but he can catch the ball in the backfield and make something of it. So that's my top 5.
Nice. All right.
Janty, Johnson, Trayvon Henderson, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins. All right, sorry.
No, you're good. I like it. I think so. My top 5 will go as said follows. I'm going to adjust it just a little bit for you, just to be controversial. We can change it up. I like it. At number 5, I'm going to put Quinshon Judkins, not Jenkins, Judkins, and Trey Vion. Gotta pronounce the hard Y. As tied for 5th place. Okay. I think they are perfect complements for each other. Yeah. So for a team, they played really well and did complement really well at Ohio State. If I got one, I might get the other. Because I think as a pair, I think they'd be great. Judkins, for sure, he doesn't have the second gear, but will run through a mofo. Right? So Bucky Brooks' analysis or Lance Zierlein's connection between the two, or as an NFL comparison for Judkins was Joe Mixon. So I thought that was I could see that. I like that. Joe's not going to be running away from people 20 yards down the field, but he sure as heck isn't going to get tackled for a 2-yard loss. And then Henderson, definitely, I think more explosive, but doesn't run with the ferocity that I think. No, that's not true. I think he plays with solid aggression. He's just a little lighter in the pants. As the kids say. I don't know if that's true. And then my number 4 is Omarion Hampton. I've kind of moved back and forth a little bit with him. So great size, 6'1", 225. But I think sometimes with that, he's not a guy that's really going to run away. But I think does everything. The last 2 years, he's been North Carolina's offense, and they've had some pretty good team success. And everyone knew he was going to get the ball. He got the ball and did it. And so there's got to be something for that. Like you said, Iowa is known for producing some good NFL quality linemen. I have no doubt that that Caleb Johnson was running behind some guys that will play on Sunday. I don't know how many North Carolina offensive linemen are going to be drafted, but it's not generally a strong suit for them. So I would have him at 4. And then at number 3, I would have DJ Giddens. So if Buffalo fans, Buffalo fans remember, running back for K-State, I think he's had some time in his college career playing wide receiver, so kind of brings all of it, not elite top end speed, but faster than Judkins, et cetera. So a guy that's going to be able to pull away and make a big play. Comes from Kansas State, where I think they coach football right in terms of how you're going to translate to the NFL. So I think he's probably going to be more coachable and NFL ready. So that's my number 3. My number 2 right now is actually Dylan Sampson.
Okay.
Running back out of Tennessee. He's a guy that does everything, and he's fast doing it. And so I don't know that I would, it's probably hyperbole, but 5'10", 201, which scares me a little bit when it comes to kind of what's the size. But showed in the SEC. I think he showed really well against Alabama. I think he showed it well against Georgia. So he's played some big boys and brought his lunchbox. And so that's my number 2. My number 1, because Bijan, that's easy. So Bijan's like an elite thing. Or not Bijan, Ashton. Genty is in his own. So I'm not even put him on my list. My number 1, because Genty is not achievable for the Broncos, so I stopped thinking about him. Obviously,
that's fair. That's fair.
Is Caleb Johnson. I think similar to Marion Hampton, Johnson had good O-line play at Iowa. Name the last good Iowa quarterback.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Brad Smith. Brad played against Carson Palmer in the Orange Bowl like 2003. There was that, and then there was like something Tate. Drew Tate. The guys that, damn, I'm old. 20 years ago, the guys that were playing. And so I think he does it all. I think he catches the ball really well, runs to space. He has enough speed, I think, to pull away from guys. Will he have it for 80 yards? No, but I think a 30-yard burst, he's going to beat safeties there, understands angles, is tough, runs angry, is the stature, 6'1", 220, and plays all of it. And so, and again, NFL coaching, Ferentz does things NFL style. They're in the eye, they're in the offset eye. They pull, they trap, all that stuff. So I think he's going to have much more of a NFL understanding to come back in. So if we have to count Jitty, then everyone bumps down 1. The Ohio State brothers bump up off the list because I only like them. I think they're good players and they'll be fine in the NFL, but they're really good if, like you said, if they're a part of a rotation, and each guy is the best pair for them. And so I think that they work that way, but that's my top 5. So again, I had Giddens 4, Marion Hampton 3, Caleb Johnson 2, Ashton Genty 1, and then Dylan Sampson at both the rest of them there. But I really like Dylan Sampson. I think he's a guy, we're talking about just NFL general, but if you miss out on Genty, I think he's a guy for the Broncos that would provide you everything. He's also a young player. And so again, you're a young player and you play in the SEC and fare well. That's great. The stamp of you're probably gonna be pretty good in the league, kid. So that's my group.
Perfect. Yeah, let's jump to quarterback because we're gonna go over a little bit, and that's okay. Also, just to run over them real quick, Bucky Brooks, running backs, Genty, Omarion Hampton, then Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, and Quinshon Judkins. So,
and so right now we're just doing corners, right? We're not doing
just corners, not all DBs, just corners.
Good. Yep. I'll go first since you went first last time, if you want.
Go for it.
Cool. I think so. Mind you, I'm actually going to take Travis Hunter off this list because I think he's an athlete. I think he's number 1 in the sense of. That's okay. Did you? Yeah. Then he would be my number 1. I'll work backwards from there. Will Johnson, corner from Michigan, I think is the 1A, and I think most of the world agrees. his comps have been Pat Surtain. So just saw Defensive Player of the Year, and he lines up really well there. I have some issues a little bit with the rest of this class because I think there's some really good players, but I think there's significant drop off after those first two. My 3 would have been no, I'm not gonna do that. My 3 is Jahdae Barron.
Okay.
He won the Thorpe Award, corner/safety for Texas. He's dynamic. The guy's a playmaker, so it's a little bit of a if Tyler Warren weren't there or Genty for the Broncos at 20 and Barron is, I would gobble that up all day. Inside versatility, kind of like Cooper DeJean. So Cooper plays outside, can play the play safety, can come up and fill the run. Played against the best talent, so you got enough data. So he would be my number 3. Really jumped off draft stocks, and I think he's going to be a really good player. My number 4 is Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. Was hurt a little bit, especially towards the back half of the year. So didn't play as many snaps as the previous 2 years, actually about half, but similar production when he was out. So a really good player with good size, 6 foot 190. So just a tad under that 6 foot 200 mark, but right about there, really fluid. I think really smart corner. And then I had kind of again, I'm going to go with my 5th place tie again. And because these are players that I have seen, I haven't dug into or looked at very much. Siobhan Revel, cornerback, really tall cornerback, 6'3", out of Eastern Carolina, but very intriguing with the skill set. But I really like Trey Amos, cornerback from Ole Miss, 6 foot 190, 6'1", 190, really blossomed this year in an expanded role, 841 snaps. Received a PFF grade of 85.7, which is 20th out of 848 total corners. And then he's going to tie that with, it's a little bit of a homer pick. But if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Azare Thomas, cornerback, Florida State. Really young player, 6'1", 190, almost 200 pounds. The guy is physical. He's fast. Because he's had a limited amount of starts and time, the good part is he plays really well in man. And so if there were a thing that, you can teach zone, I think, and get a feel for zone. Sometimes if you're not good and you don't have the traits playing in man, doesn't matter how good you get coached or any of that stuff. So he is very much, I think, a ascending, going up player, and maybe a tad behind Amos and probably even Revel based on the reports and stuff that I look at. I just haven't watched Revel play. So I would hate to put him on my list. Like, oh yeah, but I don't really know what he looks like out there. So that's my top 5. So any of those guys I would feel pretty good about also being a Bronco. So what are your what's your top?
Yeah, top 5. So I'll just go 1 to 5. Will Johnson's my number 1, and I've got Travis Hunter on my list. So I think that says a lot about how I feel about Will Johnson. And it does pain me to put a Michigan player so high on my list. However, he does everything right. He's very technically sound. He's got great instincts. His closing speed's really good. He's a great tackler in the open field. There's a number of plays of his that I watched where, he's one-on-one, making a tackle, being aggressive, getting downhill. It's not like he's blowing guys up, but he's definitely getting them to the ground effectively and wrapping up. Keeps his eyes on the ball, reads the QB efficiently and effectively. Has a great knack of beating receivers to areas on the field to get interceptions. Great hands, fluid athlete. I just think he just excels, especially in zone. I think he's probably more of a elite zone cornerback. He can play in man also, so I don't want to take that away from him. But he's probably better in zone or played more zone. Yeah. But just proficient in it all around. Does give me a little bit of Pat Surtain vibes just because he's so technically sound, and he's always always around the ball. He's always near the play. He doesn't let guys beat him. It's just very, very sound. He's just a very sound cornerback. I got Travis Hunter at number 2. Okay. I don't know. I might be in the minority here, but I think that the thing that makes Travis Hunter so great is his hands, and obviously he can utilize that as a cornerback. I still think I would draft him as a wide receiver, but that's just me. And I understand it. It's probably easier to play cornerback and then come in and play offense as wide receiver as opposed to the other way around. But obviously we know he's a fantastic athlete, incredible motor, great stamina. He's really sticky in man situations, so he's really good man-to-man defender. Great understanding of route concepts. Top tier athlete. Struggles a little bit in zone, I think, especially like in in soft press stuff like that. But he explodes through the catch point with good timing. I just think he needs to work. He needs to gain a little bit of muscle. Yeah. He's a little bit light right now. I think he can get beat up in press, especially. It's probably less of an issue. College doesn't have the illegal contact as the same as the NFL does, so their ability to make contact down the field is a little more in college. So you may not run into that as much with like soft press, but obviously a good player. Then I got Sharon Ravel as number 3. I just love his length. I love his length. I love his athleticism. He's a super great athlete. His short speed quickness and agility is really, those are all elite things for him. And I think when you're talking about drafting a guy in potentially the first round or early second round, you're looking for elite qualities. I think he's got a number of them. He had an ACL injury though, so he doesn't have a lot of film out there. So I think it is hard to kind of gauge. I definitely think you're taking more of a risk, but you're kind of banking on upside with him. Benjamin Morrison's my number 4. Probably arguably one of the best man corners in the draft. Just has a really good knack, in man, being able to be sticky, stay with his guys. His short speed's really good. He's got great ball skills. He's good in run support. He's just got a lot of positive things going for him. I just think he's a good athlete. Again, probably needs to add a few pounds of muscle, but otherwise, no issues with him. And then I've got Judd Abraham as my 5. What's that?
No, I just said, I like it.
Oh, okay, my bad. Judd Abraham's a great tackler, and like that about him. He makes reads well. The process is really quickly. Again, I don't know if he's as good in man. He tends to gamble a little bit and can get beat. Trying to jump routes. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can burn you at times. He's got good recognition, good ball skills. I think his speed is good, but not great. And he can get a little bit of a little handsy and draw some penalties. Just being aggressive. Yeah. I think overall he's got some really good upside. So that's my top 5. Bucky Brooks, top 5. Hold on, let me find it really quick. I was still at running backs.
Wait a minute.
We got Travis Hunter 1, Will Johnson 2, Ravel 3, Benjamin Morrison 4, Judd Barron 5. Hey, so me and him matched, except for I had Will Johnson over Travis Hunter. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. If you had to pick just one guy of those groups that the Broncos should target, just really quick, we don't need a big, long explanation, but who would you pick?
Yeah. If I were the Broncos and I were targeting running back outside of Ashton Genty, because he would be all of it, I would go in on Caleb Johnson. I think he's I think where you could get him more round 2, round 3. I think Amari and Hampton probably get drafted pretty high. I think him and Jenkins probably go in the first round. I don't know that I feel good enough about Hampton to use a first round pick on him. So I wouldn't go there. So I think bank for Buck Johnson would be super dope. And for the quarterback position, it's hard because all those guys that we talked about are really like outside first defenders. So it's a little bit of hesitation on like what would the Broncos need. I think Will Johnson and Travis Hunter won't even be anywhere near where the Broncos would pick. So I would really like Morrison. I think physically, I've seen the skill set to play in and play out outside. I think coming from that program, I think he's also going to be coached up pretty well. So Benjamin Morrison for some, Broncos trade back. you never have enough corners. I would never get mad at adding at a premium position.
Yeah.
But he'd be a player I would look at. And then I'm going to sneak this last one in. Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky. It's like 5'10", 190, but really like feisty, and a guy that can play inside, outside, pretty good blitzer. So he would be a guy I think maybe in day 2 that if they got, I think he would find some playing time early by being able to play inside and out.
Yeah, I like those. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Caleb Johnson's probably the pick for me too. Maybe Travion Henderson, just because his ability to catch the ball is better, I think, than the rest of them. But Caleb Johnson, I think for the value, if you're drafting him in the first round or second round, then I probably like the value of Caleb Johnson better, just because I think there's a little more, just a little more ability there, a little more top end talent there. Travion Henderson, I think, is in the running for me just from his receiving ability and how Sean Payton talked about wanting a running back or a tight end that can, give them that joker, quote unquote, in their offense. So, and I think I'm probably with you. Morrison, I think, would be a good option. He's just real sticky. He's good in man. I think he's a guy that I could see making an adjustment to playing inside over some of these other guys. And again, Will Johnson, Travis Hunter aren't going to be there. So I'd probably go Morrison as well.
Cool. Actually, I'd probably go back and add Barron, maybe as his versatility to play safety and corner. Sure. I think he actually probably would be even better of a fit, but I like Morrison. I think he has Pro Bowl potential, so that would be exciting to me. I don't know if Barron does, maybe he doesn't, but I know Morrison, if he stays healthy, is a guy that could be a really top at a position player for you. That's gettable in the end of the first round ish. Yeah, I like it. Well, we are going to finish there today and wrap it up. We're going to do a few more of these, obviously, as the season goes on. We haven't decided what groups we're going to do yet, but in what order. But you got to show up and find out. We may not know until that day. That's kind of what happened today. So we did our work quick. Produce a banger, as the kids say. Yeah, well, I mean, I think so, but I'm biased. But thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here, supporting us. Love talking sports with you, so hit us up on Twitter. We're happy to chat next. Avs, Rockies, Broncos, whoever you want to talk about. But in the meantime, be safe. And if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor. Hey, everyone. Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted.